We are going to continue our journey into meeting with entrepreneurs and learning from them what being entrepreneurial is all about. Today we have with us Kanishka and Girish from
So let me share a little bit about Stillwater, what we do at Stillwater before we talk about ourselves. So at Stillwater we focus on three areas. Leadership effectiveness, executive coaching, and customized soft skill workshops. And we work with managers across various levels in organizations. People with 15, 20 years of experience, senior managers, mid-level high potentials, and young leaders, folks like you graduate out of the IIMs, the ISBs, and join various companies.
So you know my profile. Very quickly, I started off as a rocket scientist. I started at Imperial College doing my engineering and working with the European space agencies on various zero gravity experiments and stuff like that. Then I moved very quickly to Arthur Andersen after that. I did chartered accountancy. I left just before the Enron scandal. Had nothing to do with it, but I just got out just before that whole thing collapsed. And then I came back and did my MBA at ISB and joined Hindustan Leaders in the sales and marketing function. And I was there for about 2-3 years. Well, 4 years totally, but in the story where I started off, I was there for about 2-3 years. And I was getting bored. I was getting bored because I found it difficult. It's a great organization. I just love the place, the ethics and the management culture, the quality of the people and everything. But I was finding it difficult to motivate myself fighting for 1% market share. I was like, okay, if I do a really great job, 36% people are going to buy close up instead of 35% to life. But the thing was, and I've seen a lot of people, that they don't really know what that something else is. And I really didn't know. I was like, well, this is it, right? This is the dream company. I'm here doing well. What else is there? And I was like, there's something out there, but I don't know what it is. I don't know what is waiting for me. And I said, okay, well, rather than just kind of sit here and stew, what I'm going to do is I'm going to read all the books that there are about, how to find what you love, how to find, what you should be doing and stuff like that. What should I do with my life? Paul Bronson. If I could do anything, what would I do? There are a whole bunch of great books. And really, the conclusions or the summary of what they said is you find something that is an intersection of something you're good at, your strengths, what you love doing, your passion, and a place where you can contribute to society and you can be rewarded. It's got to be something at the intersection of that you want to find out what you really should be doing in your life, if there is such a thing. And when I looked at my strengths, I was very good at understanding things. I was like in theoretical physics. I was always going deep into the academic subject. I had a way of understanding very complex issues, simplifying them, and explaining them in a way that anybody could understand. I thought that was something I could do better than most people. And when I said, okay, what do I really want to do? What I enjoy doing was learning. I used to do accelerated learning programs at ISB, teaching people how to learn faster, helping people. And I looked at my bookshelf and I said, okay, what is it that I'm really interested in? And all the books were on psychology, management, self-development. I said, okay, what is it that I can find in this area? And when I thought, okay, how can I use these two things? One of the areas was how can I McDonaldize positive psychology? For a long time, psychology has been something that has been only for sick people with problems and stuff like that. And there's this entire subject emerging in America, positive psychology, saying same principles, you apply them to healthy, functional people to take their lives to the next level. But even now, a lot of people think of it as psychotherapy and for people with problems rather than, okay, executive coaching for people who want to take it to the next level. And in sports, that metaphor has transformed. It's not like you only go to the doctor if your leg is broken, you go to a sports coach if you want to take your game to the next level. So I said, okay, is there a way we can mass do this? Second was politics. I said, yeah, I can understand the situation, I have good communication skills, maybe that's something I can do, maybe that's where I can, mass education, really saying, can we do something with TV, or in the villages, have a channel which is specifically aimed at education, so you have the best professors from MIT, Harvard, IIMs, etc., have them do lectures in a very easy to understand ways and have programs of different levels, and really how can we take education in hard to reach places much higher now that we have digital reach. That was one area. And writing, can I really understand subjects and write and communicate that? So that was what I was thinking about. And I had a very strange, I used to do everything by Excel spreadsheet. I'm famous at ISB for doing everything by spreadsheet. I even decided which girl to go and ask marry by having 50 of them ranked on a thing, all parameters, first ranking the top girl I asked. That's how I used to do things. But anyway, I said, okay, I'm here at HL, I can stay for a little longer, right? I was thinking if maybe Google is a place that I would find meaningful, making sure information, all the information in the world is accessible to anyone. That's something I could really get behind. I was in my final interview, and they were taking time to get back. So I was like, okay, do I do that? The other thing was, okay, maybe just say, okay, I'm not interested in the products, marketing, consumer products like this, but maybe consulting. I like figuring out problems. Maybe I should go to a consulting firm like BCG or McKinsey. Maybe I'll enjoy that problem-solving thing. There was another company, where I had done a leadership development program for high potential at Hindustan League. It was called Asia Works, TWP, 2 names for it. TWP is the corporate arm of Asia Works. And I was like, they did that kind of work. They looked at the psychology of managers, what is getting in the way, and I said, that's the kind of work I would really love to do. But they weren't based in India. And so I said, well, one thing I could do is I could call them up and say, hey, you're not based in India. How about I help you come to India, right? I help you set up in India, and in return, you teach me all these skills, executive coaching and stuff. So that was another option. Given where I was actually considering what would happen if I got so bored that I started doing really badly and I got sacked. And I said, well, no, my performance is okay, so I'll sue and I'll get back in. That's the kind of place I was, okay, what happens if I get so bored that I get sacked? And the other thing I said, okay, one of the reasons that I'm not taking risks is I don't have enough money saved up. So whatever happens, anything that happens here, I will start saving, I will do some psychology courses, and I will start writing. And if that becomes a hit, who knows, maybe that's a way to become an author. So I had that mapped out.
So firstly, I can tell you, I never made any Excel sheet for figuring out any of my decisions. And my second role at Lee was, I started leading a team of 23 people. I was in a factory, and I started doing lots of training with my team. And I figured out that my day job was actually managing factory operations. And I was also training my team. I was enjoying training more than my day job. And around this time, I had spent about 3.5, 4 years in HUL. My dad and I would have conversations, about becoming an entrepreneur and stuff like that. And at one point, he just gave up. He said, you know what, I don't think you're going to become an entrepreneur. And he was the guy who was like, if you want to become an entrepreneur, you should just do it. If you just jump in, take the risk. And he said, I don't think you have it in you. And I said, yeah, okay, maybe. Who knows? Fine, that's the way it is. And then I went back. My third role at HUL, I was heading the treasury team. Managing 4,000 crores of cash, investing it safely, generating return. That was the kind of work I was doing. And I found that I wasn't really enjoying the work. So for me, two things were really important. Producing great quality work, being recognized for that, and enjoying the work. And I wasn't really enjoying it. I remember I went into a discussion with my boss and I said, boss, I don't really see the point of this. I don't find this motivating. And he just heard me out. He didn't say anything. He said, well, think about it and come back. Let's have a chat later. And I was still doing lots of training in Bombay when I was in the treasury team. And I heard about this company called TWP, the Works Partnership. So this company had done a leadership program at HUL in 2004. And there were still great stories about that program. And so me and another colleague both wanted to get into training, had no clue how we could get there. And so my friend at HUL said, hey, I know this guy called Kanishka. He was with HUL, did this program, and actually went and joined that company. Let's get in touch with him. And I said, sure, okay, let's go have a chat with him. And so that's how we met Kanish, both of us, me and my friend. And I said, hey, we want to become trainers. And we met a couple of trainers from TWP, said, we want to do this. And they said, you have no idea about what we do. Come and be a participant in our programs. And so I invested a lot of time and money in myself, went to Malaysia 5 times in a span of 7 months, did a lot of training programs. And I was absolutely sure that, that's the work I want to do. I love it, and I know it's a sustainable business model. It's a great product. I've never seen training like that. And I said, this is what I want to do. And I came back to India after all those trips, and I remember one day I went to Kanishka's house and I said, give me a job. It was actually a threat, not a request. I said, I want to do this, give me a job. And really pushing him, saying, I want to do this, man, I want to do this. And it was March. So I met Kanish somewhere in 2010, June, I think, and about March or so in 2011, I was like, hey, you know what, I'm going to quit. I don't know what I'm going to do, but I'm going to quit. And I really know I want to do this with you, so will you give me a job? Can I join TWP? And Kanish was like, no man, we can't afford you, we don't have the cash flows, you have just one big client, we don't know how things are going to be. And I was like, man, that's a tough situation. I really don't know what to do. And I know that I don't want to continue in HUL because I can see myself growing, making lots of money, but I don't see myself enjoying the work. On the other hand, I know this is what I want to do, but I don't know how I'm going to make that happen. So that was kind of a choice point at that time. And it was kind of a crisis, really. So, anybody recognizes this character? It's the Chinese word for crisis. The Chinese look at crisis as a turning point. And, in a crisis, some people gain, some people lose, and it really depends on how they're looking at the situation. So this word is actually made up of two characters. One is danger, and the other is opportunity. So both of us were in a similar situation. It's crisis. So how do we get around this? How do we make the most out of it?
And I was like, well, the answer to every problem in the world is a spreadsheet. So I kind of pulled out another spreadsheet. And I really said, okay, what are my options? TWP is the company. I can say, hey, no, we need to set up a proper office in India, convince them that India is the place to go. So I said, that's one thing I could do. Or I could listen to them, they're saying, no, Kanish, you start a business over there. We don't want to enter over here. And I think I could have convinced them if I really wanted to kind of set up. Or the other thing was I was really into academics. I said, okay, I can do a PhD in organizational behavior, do that or something like that. But I looked at the dates for applying, and it already passed. I would have to wait almost 2 years before the actual course. So what do I do in the next 2 years? Second thing was, final thing was consulting. I could go back into consulting. I'd been at Arthur Andersen, said, okay, join a strategic consulting firm. And the other thing was HR at a big firm. Say, I like the corporate thing, but I'm not interested in the work. I like the security of a corporate life. I'm interested in training, development. Maybe if I move to the HR function, I'll be more happy with that work, right? I won't go through all the pros and cons. Really, it's a big list, as you can see. But really, I said, what is the impact on myself? Pros. What is the impact on myself, on the people around me, my family, and people who are important to me? So cons of both. My mother started crying when I was thinking of becoming an entrepreneur. She was like, yeah, Hindustan, they were huge for it, they were pagal over here. She started crying. My wife was, you're going to travel a lot. She started crying. PhD was too far away. And the thing about PhD was I felt like I could only earn a really high salary outside India. So, or the other place in India, I wanted to live with ISB. And I wanted to live with my parents as they grew older. I wanted to be close to my parents. So that was like a problem. So these were the options, and I said, okay, this spreadsheet is very confusing, I need another spreadsheet. So I kind of said, okay, what are the important things? I ranked them all. Okay, all the different things. Okay, how much am I going to earn immediately? How much am I going to earn long term? How certain am I about what's going to happen? What is the stress level, work-life balance, proximity parents? What percentage of my potential do I think I can live up to? And I looked at that, and it was pretty close between TWP and entrepreneur, getting TWP set up in India or becoming an entrepreneur. I was looking at this spreadsheet yesterday, and I just realized I completely miscalculated this. Because I said, okay, being an entrepreneur is going to be very stressful. So it's going to be 10 out of 10 on stress, and those are going to be less stressful. And as I looked at it, I wrote, if that's going to be the most stressful, I should have given this a 0 rating, right? And given the less stressful things a higher, rating, as in this is the job. So this should have actually been 53, making entrepreneurship the worst choice possible available to me based on the spreadsheet. But at that time I looked at it and said, okay, you know what, it's kind of like even, so let me think about entrepreneurship. Ultimately I think even if this had been 53, my heart was telling me, this was the one where I could fully express myself. This was the one where I could generate the business, generate the company, it's all up to me, I can decide where this goes. And that 10 really kind of would have outweighed, I think, all the other things. It was really a hard decision rather than a head decision. And I looked at the numbers, okay, how am I going to do this? Is the risk worth taking? I said, if I project, and based on how much percentage TWP is offering me to kind of run the business here, I did the calculations, and it was like, I had asked for 15 lakhs. It turned out that the most likely outcome was I would earn 75 lakhs in my first year as an entrepreneur. And I was like, it must be a mistake. I asked for 15 lakhs, they said you're being unreasonable, take this. And when I calculated, it was 75 lakhs. And I spent literally 3 days just checking the numbers again and again and again. I said, this is the biggest decision of my life. Have I got this right? There was withholding tax, this tax, that tax, revenues we paid to the trainers. Have I got this wrong? I did a cash flow for almost every single week for the next year and a half. I said, when is the money coming in? When is it going out? When do I have to pay my EMI? Does this work? And I realized that to start off with, I needed 10 lakhs initial capital, which I could get from my dad. But after that, it was very profitable. You know? And I said, how can I secure this? And Girish kind of came to me and he said, listen, I definitely want to do this. I've got my EMI paid off, so my salary in the first year is not that important. And I said, for me, the first year, I want to make sure that I keep paying the EMI, I don't lose the house. So I said, okay, would you be okay if in the first year I paid you nothing? but after that you get 50% of the profits. Even though I have more experience, I'll give you 50%, we'll be equal partners, right? But in the first year you do it for free. And he kind of said, okay, let's do that. And so I had ABG committing to get trainings, I had TWB giving me the percentage, and Girish agreed to work for free for the first year pretty much, right? And that made it work. And the cash flow, I could pay my EMI, earn the money, make this transition, and I said, if I spend a year and a half with this cash flow ready, in a year and a half, the two of us can build a sustainable business that even if we lose ABG, we'll still be able to pay our EMI and live okay, and then slowly build. So that was the conversation we had. That's how it started. The journey began. And the first clients we had when we started this, right, was Aditya Birla, right? That was our one big client that was generating all the revenue. All our cash flows were based on that client.
So I left Levers in June 2011, and about a month before that, 3 months before that, I had a chat with my CFO and I said that, hey, I want to pursue something on my own. And in May, I think, my CFO just called me and said, hey, would you like to have a chat with Lena? And Lena was the executive director at HR. And I was like, wow, man, great. Sure, I would love that. And Kanishka and I were having a chat even much before I quit, and we realized that it's important to do a great job in the last couple of months before I left Levers. To keep the relation there and really build that credibility, and that really worked, and it generated this opportunity. So I was actually supposed to have an exit interview with Lena, and it turned into a sales pitch. I went there and said, this is the work we want to do, and it would be great if you can help us out. Let's do something. And she was really open, and she had recruited me into Levers, and she had heard a lot about the training that I was doing, and she knew I was really passionate about it. And she said, you know what? Okay, I'll give you guys a chance. Meet the training head, have a chat, see what you can do. And that created a great opportunity for us. We worked with the 2010 batch of management trainees. Guys like you passed through the IIMs, top B schools, and they joined HUL, and we worked with them in the 2010 batch as they were passing out of the management training program. It was reasonably successful, not a great program, but HUL figured out that we could really connect with that audience, deliver great stuff. And then we worked with 2 more batches after that at HUL. And really for me, the learning there was, building relationships. And a lot of the stuff that I've done in the past was really helping me now. And also in HUL, when I was in Treasury, most of the people I used to deal with were bankers, mutual fund managers, a lot of external stakeholders. And I have great relationships with all of them. And when I left HUL, I called every single person. And I said, hey, this is what I'm planning to do. Can you help me? And I was surprised by the kind of responses that people gave. Every single person helped out. A lot of the business we generated later was because of those relationships I had at HUL. And just asking them, some people were people that I met just once, but even they were willing to help. And I just said, hey, this is what I'm doing, can you help me? And HT said, hey, we want to do lots of programs, but we have budget constraint. We can pay only like 50% of what you guys normally charge. And that was a critical decision point for us. It was like, okay, we can do this work, but do we really want to sell ourselves at a rate that's much lower than what we would normally sell ourselves at? And we thought a lot about it, and we said, you know what, in the long term, we're going to get that. And in the short term, for keeping cash flows up, let's do it. It was a very conscious decision, okay, it's price to pay, but let's do it because we want to build that client base and slowly grow. And this was a client that we were really hungry. We want to prove ourselves. There was this conversation with ST where I said, we want to do a feedback workshop. Can you guys do videos? And we said, videos? No, we normally don't do videos. We don't think it will work. And then we thought about it much later, and we were like, actually, you know what? We videos will make a lot of sense. And then we told the client, you know what, let's do videos, but can you guys arrange for the video equipment, the actors and stuff like that? And they were like, how much is that going to cost? And we said, we don't know, you guys figure that out. And they figured it out, it was going to be close to $1 lakh, and they said, you know what, chuck the video, let's not do it, let's design some other program. And we were hooked into the idea of the video by that time. And I remember we were chatting at about 3 in the afternoon. The client had said no video, and Kanish said, you know what, let's do a video. And I bought a DSLR camera just then, and I said, okay, nice time to test the camera. I just took the camera, went to Kanish's house, put it on a tripod and said, okay, let's shoot a video. And we shot a video with just the 2 of us, and we sent it to the client. And the client saw the video, and they were like, okay, it works, let's do this. And that generated 25 workshops for us. That was like a huge shift, and we were like, wow, man, we got this client. It was a real nice feeling because we took that initiative to go out and say, let's do this.
And suddenly things started changing because once we had the management training programs for Hindustan Levers and Aditya Birla, people then started coming to us. People started coming to us, and HDFC Life, for example, they called us and they said, we've heard you guys are really good at management training. Can you kind of design something? We've got some new management trainees. They've been out in the field. They're struggling with some of the issues they're facing. And we'd like you to design a problem-solving program for them. How can you solve problems? And we've got a number of vendors coming on the same day. Can you come at a certain time and pitch to us? I'm going to introduce you to the HR head, and we'd like to see your proposal. So he told me through a problem-solving, and I said, I'll be there. But at the night, as I was thinking, I was like saying, well, these guys, they don't need a problem-solving workshop. These guys are very intellectually smart. They're all IIM guys. They don't need an intellectual program. What they really need is a program on emotional resilience, dealing with people who are older than yourself, speaking to them in an emotionally intelligent way. And I said, this entire program that I'm designing will not work. But he's expecting this. I have to meet him tomorrow. There's no time now. It's like 2 in the morning. I can't call him up. And I said, you know what? I'm going to design the program that I think they need. And I don't have time to do both. I'm just going to design this. And I know there's a chance he'll say, well, what the hell? We just spoke yesterday, and I very clearly gave you the brief. And now in front of my HR director, you're giving me all this crap. And I said, you know what? Let me just go in and tell him this is what I think we should do. So I went in, and I said, listen, I know this is not what we agreed, but I really think, based on my experience with HUL and ADG, this is what you guys need to do. And I told them to, and they kind of raised their eyebrows. They're really not expecting that. But by the end, they said, okay, let us consider it, we'll get back to you. And the next day they called us and they said, we had an internal meeting and we realized you're absolutely right. This is exactly what you need. Tell us when you can do this. And for us, suddenly, we realized that we were the experts in this. We were now working with several batches of management trainees, and we knew what they needed better than the companies themselves. And it was also saying, we can trust ourselves to recommend things rather than saying, what would you like? Let us do our best to kind of like help you with that. That was a real confidence booster. The next client was a big one, Goldman Sachs, really improved our reputation for people who were 3 years and 8 years in the company. And again, it was customization. They said, look, our time is really critical. Can you design a coaching workshop? I said, normally our things are about 2 days, teaching managers how to coach their subordinates. And they said, can you do it faster? I was like, we can do it 1 day. Be less effective, but we can do it 1 day. And I said, can you do it faster? It's like, well, what are we talking about? Like 6 hours? 4 hours? 2 hours? Yeah, can you do that? I was like, in 2 hours, how do you walk into the room and teach coaching skills to people who've been like, VPs of HR for 8 years, 10 years, etc. And I said, okay, you know what? Let's do this. Let's figure this out. I'll turn up and I'll do the best I can. So I just turned up. It was completely unstructured. And I said, you tell me what you want to talk about, and we'll talk. And there was no structure, but as they walked out 2 hours later, they were like, this is the best conversation we've ever had. And that's what they told the HR of Goldman Sachs. And we were like, okay, wow, we really are good, because Goldman Sachs must be working with a whole bunch of other people all around the world. And we had no idea how to benchmark ourselves, but that was the reaction that we got after a completely unstructured conversation. And then they said, okay, do another program. It was the next day for 50 of our guys, 3 years in the company who just got promoted. And we said, okay, how do we do something for 50 people? We have a 3-day design for Hindustan Levers. Can we do it in 1 day? And I looked at that and said, it's going to be really tight, And as I was looking at the floor, I said, this is going to be really tight. I need help. And I called Girish, I said, I think you need to come down here. We signed a contract for one trainer, but you need to come and help like deliver this program as well. So he looked at the flights. The next flight available was 3:30 in the morning, right? So he said, okay, let me take that. And he came over 3:30 in the morning. He reached at Bangalore 4:30, 5:30 in the morning. Slept like two hours. We went to the training. We delivered it, and it got great ratings. And we didn't charge the client. We said, listen, we didn't tell you that we would bring in an extra person. We felt it was required. We felt it was required. But that so much built the trust. You know, that they were like, these guys will do whatever it takes to make a program succeed. And so that built up. And I think one of the learnings in entrepreneurship is we have been willing to take losses if we believe it's in the client's best interest. You know, if it's fair to the client, we won't charge anything. And we've taken a number of big hits. You know, like with Aditya Birla, we had a contract in dollars, etc. We said we'll change it to rupees. The international trainers came and we paid them the money. It took a while before ABG paid, and in that time the rupee kind of like fell from 45 rupees per dollar to something like 53. And literally in the space of a month, while we were getting the payment, we lost 10 lakhs. You know, the withholding tax calculations, we said we'll estimate this is how much we think it's going to be. Again, it turned out to be more. And we could have, with our relationships, gone and said, hey, listen, I said this is the estimate. It's actually more than that. Our accountant says it's going to be this percent, not this percent. So this is the actual revised number. And we said, no, we gave them an estimate. Let's not go back and say, actually, the estimate is this. We will take that, 10, 15 lakh loss. It's part of doing business. You know? But again, all the decisions we were taking were, what have we said to the client? What have we committed? We will stick to that, even if it bears loss, and it's slowly paying out. We had another program with Aditya Birla where we got international trainers. It didn't go that well, and the client said, I'm kind of disappointed in this kind of. And I said, we're not going to charge you. We will pay for their business class flight. We will pay for the trainers. We're not going to charge you. We don't believe in charging clients who are not completely happy. And she was like, okay, wow. And the relationship actually went up, even the program bombed. And they said, we must work with you again. Next year we'll give you a lot more programs. So that's something we've learned on our journey. Some people started hearing about our work. And one of the things I said is, not just, what we want to do is sustainable revenue. It's like if you have a one-off client, we did one-off clients for say, Baroda, Pioneer, etc. They had a specific need, we came in, we did that workshop, we went out. What we were really looking for is business that generates year on year. So the management training program with Hindustan Levers, every year we know we're going to get that if we keep doing a good job. If we do Aditya Birla management. So we said business schools would be a great place. If you can find a way to do leadership programs for these guys, effectively what we're doing for all these companies are the things that aren't covered at B school in some way. The academic rigor and obviously everything is there. But some of the softer skills like communication skills, influencing skills, creativity, structured thinking, all these sort of things, they're not really taught experientially in business school. So we said, can we do that in business school? And one of the things we said is, this year, one business school, we're going to do something. And ISB called us and said, can you do something for us? We did it. And very soon after that, Hindustan Lever called us up and they said, can you go to the various campuses and just deliver something on behalf of Hindustan Lever to say HUL is a great place to do leadership development. So very quickly, we're going to be going to we've been to FMS, we'll be going to we've come here, IIM-A, we'll be doing another one here soon, IMC, IML, IFT called us to do a program for them. Any other places? SPJ we're doing. In the space of a few months, once we said this is what we want to do, suddenly started things happening. Just people would call us up and say, can you come to our thing? And I think a lot of it is when you're very clear on what you want to achieve, you see the opportunities that are kind of like, if you weren't clear, would drift by. And you're like, we need to have a conversation. This is how we can convert that. We met PT at ISABS, and we wanted to be in the B school. She said, I am from IIM-A, a prof, and we were kind of like, okay, okay. She just turned up into our lives. And if we hadn't been very clear that, hey, we want to be in a B school, we may have ignored you, Giti. Who knows? We had a lot of fun chatting. No, we wouldn't have. Of course, we wouldn't have. But it's like getting clear on what you really want is very, very important. And expansion was important. So the next thing we said is, okay, we're really the best companies. They realize they're not in the training business. They're in the business of marketing training programs. We need to build our brand. So that's when my wife joined. She just delivered a baby. She's been looking after him. My son is 1 year old. And she wanted to get back to corporate life but still have the flexibility. So we took her on, and that was weird because, like, she said, listen, everything is fine, but I'm a little worried about working with you as a, you're my husband. I don't want you kind of like giving me feedback, development feedback, and that's not going to work in our relationship. And I said, listen, yes, you're my wife, but the client gets 100%. And if you're not willing to hear from us, if you're not doing 100%, don't join the company. And she kind of like, oh man, So she joined, and she was like a little worried. I was a little worried, but it worked out because she got passionate. When she saw, I think, how passionate we were about delivering great service, she kind of got into it, and now she's like, earlier she would say, Kanish, you're working too hard, leave that project, come over here, spend some time. Now she's like, Kanish, is that project done? Well, what are you doing? Why are you relaxing? I mean, like, it's like completely transformed. This is where we are. I guess the future. Do you want to talk to me about challenges of the future?
Some challenges for the future. Do you guys recognize these characters? So, one of the big challenges for us is really trainer training. It's not like we can hire a trainer, go to B school, interview people, pick up people, or go to another organization, just interview and say, hey, let's take you on as a trainer. A lot of the trainer development is actually by apprenticeship. So if you're wondering who the Yoda is, that's Kanishka. I'm the Skywalker.
It's confusing because he looks like Yoda and I look like Skywalker, but it's actually representation is the opposite.
So the way I get trained is every single workshop I'm up in front. Even not just in a workshop, even outside the workshop, trainer training is like 24/7. There's a lot of feedback saying, hey, you notice you're doing this. How are you looking at things? So it's a process that's intensive in terms of the investment that goes into developing the trainer. And I keep telling Kanishka, hey, when you move to a new house, clear a separate room for the next partner who's going to join us, apprentice room, let's call it. So that's something that's a big challenge for us. How do we keep developing more trainers?
And the thing is, because we have to be willing to go into a client, say the CEO of Crystal, Rupa Pudva, and I was 30 at the time. How do I speak to somebody of that age as an expert in the field? How do I coach the senior director, the HR director of Crystal at the age of 30 and come across with credibility? It really requires a lot of clarity in what you really want, what you really feel, how you believe about things. Otherwise, you're either going to come across as arrogant or incompetent. And if I know everything and I'm at this stage, I come across as arrogant. Or if I say something wrong with a level of confidence, I come across. So it's a real fine balance in developing people who listen well, who understand what the requirements are, who say sensible things, who are confident under pressure. It really it's tricky.
And the second big challenge for us, and we realized that this pretty recently, is health. We were actually going through our financials for the last 1 year, and at that time we figured out that, hey, you know what, we're not going to sink. We can make money. This is going to be financially viable. But the bigger challenge for us is our health. And about 3 weeks back, Kanish really hurt his back. He was, lying down on his bed for 5 days continuously, and we realized that that's the biggest risk for us. How do we manage our health? That's a big challenge. We travel a lot. We really work hard. So how do we maintain that balance? Take care of our health. And the next one is really scaling up. Finding the right people. How do we do that? We still haven't figured out how we're going to do that. What's the structure for the company? One day Kanish called me and said, hey, go watch Rocket Sing, man. It's a great movie. You guys seen Rocket Sing? Anybody? Yes. Yeah. It's like, in that movie, it's like everybody who joins the company is a partner. It's like, that's the model for us. And I tell my wife that, and she's like, I can't believe you saying this. I'm going to be school.
It's like everybody's an equal partner. That's kind of what we said. So even if somebody has joined and we've been there for 10 years, they're going to have an equal share. And what we're saying is we believe that you are going to contribute as much as us, even though we have more experience, because we're investing in you, and that'll keep people in the company. Because it's a sort of work that people can very easily leave and just start their own company. So what will keep them? We're still figuring that out. All the other partnerships, the leadership development companies we've seen are very small. The leadership training field is very fragmented. There are very few places where talented people can't make it on their own. So what is it about the culture of the company that will have them stay and want to work is a question we're thinking about.
And the last one is really prioritization, making choices. For example, should we go make a sales call, or do we work on creating a new psychometric test? Should we sit down and write a book, or do we go and get that client proposal out? So it's always about balancing the short term and the long term. That's a challenge. We still are figuring out how to handle. No clear answers yet, but challenge for us.
And with that, questions?
Questions?
In your intent, you mentioned that you are looking at developing a national curriculum for schools for life engagement and all those things. So, what is the status? Like, how much have you developed? Are you going to develop it as a training program, training module, which will be conducted by trainers, or is it going to be something to be delivered electronically or through the medium of kids? Because in schools, it will really not work if you go and talk in terms of management jargon or the psychological thing. They won't understand it. It has to be something which involves them a lot and which does not involve much of the jargon. So how are you planning to go?
It's got to be a solution that's scalable. There's no point in doing it otherwise. So definitely we won't be delivering it. But it's designing a syllabus and exercises and debriefs so that any teacher in any school could debrief it. And for somebody like say an 8th standard student, it could be a class discussion like, what was the biggest fight you had with your best friend? What happened? What do you think of the mistakes you made? How would you do things differently? And so you debrief it, hear it out, have a few points, talk about, here's some of the research that talks about how you can do, so how you can build a relationship. There's a lot of research out there in these sort of things, especially since Daniel Goleman in emotional intelligence. There's a lot of research on what it takes to be successful, motivation, autonomy, mastery, all these sort of things. There's a lot of research, and the question is, can we convert that into an exercise that any teacher could just look at their notes and say, this is the exercise, this is the homework, this is how we structure it, and this is how we debrief it. I don't know if electronic medium is something that was mass, we can do it at that level yet. But we're in the very exploratory thing. And part of the reason we took out Avantika is because we don't have the bandwidth doing the corporate work we do to kind of go in this area. But we're partnering with people who are very interested, very early stages, but there are a lot of people who want to do this with us. A lot of people from the educational thing is like, we've set this up, we're doing this in colleges, can you help us design this? And we'll figure it out. I think the need is there, I think the capability is there. It's going to take time, but like I said, about intention, if we're very clear on what we want to create, I think we'll find the mechanism.
I'm Ramtej.
Hi, Ramtej.
Hi. So I have a question. You are basically in a service-based business where human resource is the biggest asset. In fact, it's the only asset for you.
Right.
And so how do you rope in talent into your team? I mean, how do you do it? Because it's a catch-22 situation.
Yeah.
Again. Unless you're big, people won't get easily attracted.
Yeah.
But when you're small, how do you do it? How are you going about doing it?
Find guys who are giving up their salary for a year.
Yeah, basically that's the thing. It's actually surprisingly, a lot of people want to join us. Because people who attend our programs, they're like, man, we want to do what you do. Especially at intense programs, they're like, so we have no shortage of people who want to do what we do. The question is, are they the right people? We're not really sure what the right people is. If we just take people who are like us, maybe we become too insular. If we take people who are very different from us, maybe there are too many arguments. And one of the things in our team so far, it's just been perfect harmony. I don't think we've ever had an argument. This has been there right from the chemistry. It's been so good. He handles all the finances. I don't know anything about what happens monetarily. He could be like, siphoning off millions of my money. I have no idea. I just trust him completely. When he joined, he said, okay, what are the financial arrangements? I said, hey, listen, for the first year, the first 22 lakhs is mine. And then after that, we'll share 50-50. And my thing was, look, the first 22 lakhs is mine, then every single year is 50-50. He thought it was every year, whatever the profits are, I take the first 22.5 lakhs, and then after that is 50-50. And afterwards, this was almost 6 months in, he said, isn't this how much I'm supposed to be earning? I said, no. I said, oh, okay. As in, he's just not looking at the money, he just completely trusts me with the contract, I completely trust him with the money. There's never been an argument. And for us, we've seen a lot of companies where eventually egos start getting in the way. So that is for us the more important, because a lot of smart people want to do what we do, a lot of them want to join. One is, how much can we pay them initially, Is it fixed salary, is it a partnership, do we give up power? But the biggest thing is, do we really, can we say for sure this person is never going to have a difference of long-term objective about what he wants in life. You know, we are very aligned, and I think that's the biggest challenge for us. Hi, Joe. Hi.
So, my question on, I felt entrepreneurship is mainly a gut feeling rather than weighing all the options and then coming up with, okay, this is the thing that I wanted to do after weighing all the options with the big Excel sheet. Then, what is your take? Do you think it is?
Well, I'm looking at the spreadsheet and I got it completely wrong, so I don't know really what to say. I think, I don't think, a lot of people think entrepreneurship is about taking risks. Right? I don't think it's about taking risks. I think it's about understanding risks. You know? And for me, the risk of staying in a job and not enjoying myself 30 years from now and really looking back and saying, you know, is that really what I was going to do with my life? That was a bigger risk than 2 years of, you know, not earning that much because I can always come back to the corporate world. So I looked at those two risks and I felt this was actually a lower risk than this one. So I think it's, I don't think it's about jumping. If you jump in, trust my gut, I think you're going to die. That's my personal thing. I'm a little risk averse. But at some point, the analysis has to stop. And it's kind of, you look at the battle plan and all the scenarios, etc., and then you trust your gut. But you do the analysis first, I think. My sense. I don't know if you have a different answer.
I never made any spreadsheets. So for me, it was, I really trusted myself. You know, for me, it was just two things. Am I doing something that's adding value to me as a person? Am I going to generate great value for people? In fact, when I was working in my last role in HUL, one day I was really depressed. I was traveling, I was being in the airport, and I said, I took out a notepad, and I said, if I quit today, what will people take me for? And I started writing down a whole list of things. You know, I love to talk, I can really motivate people, inspire people. And I was like, yeah man, this is what I'm going to do. And next day I called one of my friends and said, this is what I'm doing. And he said, who the hell wants to listen to you? So I think it's trust yourself, but I still didn't give up there. I said, you know, there's something in this area, I love it, let me see what I can do. And I kept pursuing that. So I followed my heart, but I did have people who kind of kept giving me that reality check. So yeah, I think it's a mix of both.
You know, in our team, I'm like the kind of person who kind of says, okay, where are we going, what are we doing? And then I kind of doubt what's going to work, is it going to work, etc. I do all the strategic work, and then Girish kind of goes, okay, let's stop the thinking, let's start the doing. And I think the balance in our team of very different skill sets, different attitudes, helps balance. Because I for a long time thought, I know what we should be doing, I'm a little scared to do it. And he was like, I have no idea, but I'm not scared. So it was good. It was good balance.
One more.
Yeah.
You had 3 on the work-life balance score.
4.
Out of 10.
Yeah.
Excel sheet.
Right.
So maybe show that here, but
yeah, I did, and that was one of the cons. If you saw the impact of my stress, what it was going to be on her. You know, when I first started at TWP, after about a month, I just collapsed. I got vertigo and I got dizzy and I couldn't walk. You know, and I went to the doctor, and one of them says you're going to need to take an injection every month for the rest of your life, right? And I said, I'm not doing that. That's not going to happen. I went and saw another doctor, and he said, when you start a new business, there are so many things on your mind. You know, this tax is to be paid on this date, or what is the withholding tax rules on this? What are the legal regulations on this? Is that customer going to get? You have to handle everything. All the flight tickets for the trainer, have they been looked at? There were so many things that were just handled when I was at Hindustan Lever. When I moved here, he said, there's so much on your mind, it's actually literally making your head spin, you know? And so it was a big transition for somebody like me who likes things ordered and safe and so on. And so for me, the work-life balance kind of took a toss because I didn't have discipline. I think what we're realizing now is that we need to set the boundaries. We've kind of got to over that stage where the financial question was still up in the air, and that time I said, I'm working hard and I need to, and now I'm like, I don't need to work this hard. Now I can find that balance. So I haven't found the answer to work-life balance, but I knew for about a year and a half, it was going to go for a toss. I had that conversation with Avantika. I said, this is what it's going to be. And she knew, she kind of said, no, are you sure that after a year and a half you're going to stop? And I said yes. Whether I will is to be seen, but I'm pretty committed to getting the balance now. Last week, my health was been for a toss, and I've really seen that now.
I just want to share something on this. When I was with HUL, I used to work 5 days. Very rarely would I work on weekends, but I was always stressed out. And still, after I joined Stillwater, it's like, really there's no division between personal and professional life. Like, there are so many weekends when I work, but it's never felt like I have to push myself to do this. It's really, hey, what am I doing this for? Who am I doing this for? It's for me. And I'm creating something. So it's always been easy. And a couple of weeks back, I went for a medical test, and the doc said, your heart rate is less than normal. It's lower than normal. And I was like, is that a good sign or a bad sign? He said, athletes mostly have that. Do you run a lot? I said, no. It's been like a couple of years since I ran. He said, I guess you're less stressed out at work. For me, that's a big payoff. So it's not necessarily the number of hours I'm putting into the work. It's really how am I feeling as I work.
Yeah, I would say there's been no stress. There's been work, but it's really been enjoyable work, and there hasn't been any stress, which is very different from how I felt earlier, which was I'm doing this to kind of like get a certain number that is my target externally set. Now I kind of like do it because I enjoy it. And I remember when I really said this is absolutely the profession for me was when I was doing some 360 analysis. So for the managers that we were going to train, their subordinates and everybody was sending feedback, and I was collating it. At that time, we still don't have web capability of doing that automatically. So it was a manual process. And at HUL, if I had to go through lots of spreadsheets saying, okay, what is fair and lovely growth share in this city, how is it, that, it was slowly kind of like wear me down. And it was like, because I didn't see the meaning. Over here, I was doing a lot of rigorous work, but I was like fascinated. I was like, oh, this subordinate thinks this about him. That's inconsistent with what does this say about his relationship? Why does he think about himself? And as I was looking at the numbers, I was fascinated. It's really dull, data-driven task, but there was something in it that made it so fun and engaging for me. There was no stress.
So I was wondering if you would want to expand for companies which are not very big, and don't these companies have an inherent notion that leadership cannot be taught in an hour or two? How do you approach such clients? I mean, isn't that like attending Shiv Khera's lecture for 2 hours or something?
Yeah, actually, we don't do motivational seminars, so we definitely don't. I mean, we do if somebody asks us to. It's not what we're passionate about. I agree with you that some people will get something from it. There are 2 questions you're asking. What can you do in an hour or 2? That's one question, and the second is, would we work with smaller companies? I think we would work with smaller companies, and we have. The thing is, sometimes it's a lot of sales effort to get a client, whether it's a big company or a small company. And then the returns, as in the number of workshops you get off the back of that for a small company, aren't that big. Maybe they have a management team of 15, etc. And that's it. Whereas at a bigger company, they'll say, can you do this for 450 managers, 1 every month? So there's a very different investment return ratio in terms of your effort. However, there are some companies that if we start working with them just now, they may be 200 crores just now. In 5 years, they may be 1,000 crores. There's some very fast-moving small companies who don't have, who want to invest in people that it's going to require to take them to the next level. And if we build a relationship with just now, when they're 5,000 crores, we're the ones that are sitting with the CTO and talking about development programs and stuff. So there's a long-term thing that we're still figuring out. We've got a few people just now. We're thinking, growing company, is it worth the effort? So we're kind of questioning. And with, CRISIL was 500 crores when I worked with them. Very reputed, but in terms of revenue, not a 15,000 crore like HUL or something like that. But they really had plans of going from 500 crores to 5,000 crores in the next 10 years. And you have other companies like that. So it's case-by-case basis, I guess, is a single-line answer to that question. The second question you're asking is, what is possible in an hour or 2 hours? Our work is very specialized, so we normally do at least 2 or 3 day workshop with maybe 15 people, right? And really what we do is we ask them questions, right? And in the questions, they kind of see what they're missing. So we don't say, this is what you should be doing. We don't say leaders should be committed. everybody knows that. What we will say is, do you notice you said you would be on time and you're late? You broke your commitment. Is your word important to you? Well, where are the places that you're breaking your word? To whom are you breaking the word to? You know? And as they answer those questions for themselves, they will generate their own insights. Or it's like, do you notice you interrupted that person who was speaking? Is that person's opinion important to you? Because based on the way you spoke to him, it's not. So you can say it's important to you, but if you continuously interrupt, that's not the message you're sending out. Who are you not listening to in life? So we look at their behaviors that they're displaying in the workshop, ask them questions as they're displaying those behaviors, and they do the value by thinking about those questions, right? And in that way, if it's a one-on-one conversation, you can actually, in an hour, somebody is stuck at a certain issue, like, I'm not getting promoted, I don't know why that is. You just keep asking questions and go deeper and deeper and deeper until they go, you know what the reason is? I've been trying to please my boss, and I know there's certain things that I need to be doing, and I've been scared. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the risk, I'm going to tell my boss, this is what I'm doing, this is why it needs to be done. And I'm going to do it, and if it fails, fine. If it succeeds, great. And if they end at that place 1 hour later after that conversation, something fundamentally has shifted about the way they see the world. And when they actually do the action, and it reinforces their belief, oh, there's a different way of looking at things than I have been doing, then it's very powerful. But definitely lecturing people that this is what you should be doing, in our experience, has a very short-term impact and it's not lasting.
And what all is included in the leadership development program? Any inventories do you make the people fill up? Any role plays?
No, it's really just seeing how people behave. We do a role play, on how to convince people with different objectives. We're thinking now of developing our own psychometric test that we've based on our understanding of what's required to be effective and things like that. But most of all, it's just seeing what people are doing and asking them questions about what you're actually doing. What does it indicate about the beliefs that, if you do this action, where else is it showing up? What are the consequences of that? How does that compare to what you would like to be happening? What would you need to do to kind of shift the gap? And whatever you're doing, no matter how successful, there's another level you can go to. And if you look at what's preventing you from going to that level, it's just question and hearing what they're saying. And as people answer the question, their beliefs come out very vividly about what is holding them back quite often to an external, unbiased observer.
What is very impressive to me is this thing that you don't seem to be working to earn X amount of money
Right.
and have an ambition that I want to make so much money and so on. I think that is the secret of your zero stress or low stress.
Yeah, I think that is.
I think that's the which is very wonderful, because I think the modern entrepreneurs are defining their objective as happiness and doing what they want to do,
Yeah.
rather than making so much of money
Right.
and then later in that ambition landing up in hospital and
Right.
getting into problems.
And I think for us, for myself anyway, it was like, can I go on an international holiday once in a while? If I want to go to Greece, can I afford that? And I go to good restaurants. That's kind of like my benchmark. If I can do that, I'm okay. As long and the education of my son and maybe pension afterward. That's kind of like financially, that's the thing. But really, I think we measure our success not by how much we're earning, because there's no end to that, but the amount of impact we create. And our real vision is saying, okay, if we can get 5,000 people trained a year in our intensive leadership program, not the 1 or 2 hour sort of thing, but a proper real thing that has people move forward, we can get the leverage point. So say if we're like doing all the people at IIMs, ISB, the IAS, Teach for India, etc., is that the management trainees at Hindustan Levers, Goldman Sachs, the real cream, if we keep doing that year on year on year, what's going to happen is you have an entire generation, and each of these guys could potentially impact 10,000 others. I mean, my extended team at Hindustan Levers was about 1,000 people, including the distributors, salespeople, etc. And so if we go for 5,000 people of the highest quality per year on year on year, who each could impact, say, 10,000 people 5-10 years down the line, then we're going to be reaching a much bigger scale. If we add that to the work we're doing with the educational curriculum, really rolling, if you could get it in ICSE, I think we would measure our success by the impact we have rather than the money beyond the point.
Wonderful. I think that's a very important lesson for me in terms of listening to you, that your objectives are much larger than just making money. I think that's the most impact is very interesting.
Thank you so much.
So I went and I started chatting with them, and while I was chatting with them, of course their energy and enthusiasm was really infectious because I was getting energized by the whole conversation. But what really struck me was that there are people like you and me. They have the same thoughts, the same questions, the same struggles that we are going through, right? But the clarity with which they were working around it, and the clarity with which they were articulating it, or approaching probable solutions, that was something which really appealed to me. And I thought this was something that could be useful for all of us, including me. And that's what got me hooked onto them, and I brought them. And yeah, I mean, we've been in touch for the last couple of months, and it's an energizing relationship in that sense. Every time I speak with them, I feel a little more inspired, a little more enthusiastic in life, and a little bit more, I have a little bit more of that let's do it kind of a spirit. So thank you so much for your presence. I'm sure the class
please do take our numbers, emails, add us on Facebook. We'd love to hear from you. If you ever want to chat to somebody about your ideas and bounce your ideas, people call us at. I always say call us at 3 a.m. If you're thinking about it, I'd love to hear it. Girish is call me during office hours kind of thing. But we'd love to hear from you. Please do use and abuse and misuse these numbers all you want. Do add us on Facebook. I've noticed that people who add on Facebook, they get to know us, we get to know them, the updates and stuff. And over a period of time, a lot of these guys who kind of just, we meet once and don't really get to know them, we become very good friends. So please do add us. Wow. Thank you very much. They always give the flowers to Girish first. Thank you very much.